Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Wednesday, the 30th of September, 2020. I'm your host, the amazing Super Chris. We've got a full board this morning. Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog over at Patheos is here. The Rage, Nokasuchi from the Rage channel on YouTube is here. And John Funk from the Atheist Incorporated channel and the Reading Funk Incorporated channel are here with us this morning. We are going to talk about some Trump debate, Biden debate, Trump poo-flinging kind of stuff right after this.
I gotta do something for this ad for the Laughing in Disbelief YouTube channel. Color. I like color. Color's pretty cool. Everyone's doing color. Color is stupid. I can't do color. I gotta change it. No. Too much change. Bad change. Too different. Monkeys? I like monkeys. Check out the Laughing in Disbelief YouTube channel.
All right. Good morning, Andy. How are you doing? You have a good week?
I'm doing okay.
So far?
I'm doing okay.
Awesome.
I'm gonna see how my compatriots, my fellow subversives, are doing before commenting.
Okay, good. Me too. Really. Let's see how that goes. Let's start with Nokasuchi. Good morning, Nokasuchi. How are you doing this morning, brother?
Good morning. I'm waking up. The world is still here, even though the debate was on fire. So, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, John. Good morning, John. Thank you for joining us today. Wonderful Wednesday with John.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Looks nice outside today. I'm well rested. I'm excited about this debate. I watched the highlights this morning when I got up and watched some commentary on it. So it's all very interesting to me.
Yeah, it really is. It was We're going to get into it in just a second. A very interesting evening last night. I want to, before we do that though, because I'll forget and I just won't come back and do it. So I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Good morning, Dave, Critical Cripple. Awesome to have you with us this morning. You know, actually, for those of you who don't know, Dave's software helps run the show. He did a thing that does the thing and it blessed it and prayed over it and Jedi mind trick and it makes it go. Thank you to Dave for that. Yo Natural Atheist, Native Atheist, Ricardo Oliveira, Cindy Plaza. Good morning, Cindy. No, I already said Native Atheist. You don't get two. Robert X. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. There are lots of people watching on Facebook this morning. We've got about almost 20 now Facebook pages where we stream to live. So good morning, everybody on Facebook and the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast live. Good morning to everybody. Okay, good morning, everybody. All right, so let me just do this right here. Look, you know, I think I'm gonna switch it up a little this time, and I'm gonna start from the back and start with John. John. What were your thoughts? Now we did our little fun in the Facebook, but what were your thoughts concerning the debate?
Yeah, the debate, I think I'm just so disappointed with the state of politics in America that it seemed really sad to me. I know that Trump was trying to win the debate, and this is a common debating strategy that works for a lot of people. Kent Hovind is an example of this. If you can just dominate your opponent and tell as many lies as possible, that can really come out favorably for you as far as your viewers are concerned. So he was clearly playing to his supporters. I think that it was a sad debate, a lot of talking over. One thing I like about StreamYard is that you can just mute somebody's mic if they want to go overboard. I would have liked to have seen that in that debate last night. But I thought it was a mess, but I'm still supporting Biden. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Nokasuchi, did you watch it? You watched it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I watched almost all of it. I missed probably the first 10 minutes or so. From what I understand, I missed, Trump coming out like a freight train and Biden kind of standing like a deer caught in the headlights moment. But I think that Biden did eventually rebound. And I've seen a lot of rhetoric about, it went both ways with the talking over. And I see it slightly differently. I see Trump was trying to bully and telling a bunch of lies, and then Biden would try to correct the lies. So if somebody is telling a lie about my child, your instinct is to try to correct that. I don't see that as talking over. I see intentionally talking over somebody's point as talking over. So I see it slightly different than some people are. I think that Biden did well enough. He did what he should have done. And I think because of that, Andy put it in the chat, Biden didn't lose it. So therefore Biden won.
Yeah. Trump was on the, I'm mixed, Trump, Well, we'll wait for me. Andy? Let's look at Andy
Well,
for a minute. Wake up, Andy.
We're going to do this on a sliding scale. Okay. Nobody had a perfect night. We knew it was going to be what amounted to a brawl. However, it turned into a brawl between 3 people as against to just 2 people. So on the sliding scale of who did their job best, and I know this is going to be somewhat controversial, I'm going to say Chris Wallace, number 1.
Okay.
I'm going to say Joe Biden, number 2.
Okay.
And number 3 at the basement, Donald J. Trump. And it is correct to say that by Biden not losing, he won since he is ahead.
Yeah.
He is ahead in several swing states, vital swing states. And Trump had to do something, and he was desperate. And that's why he decided to go with the me mad baby, all in caps campaign, rhetorical strategy.
I laughed my ass off when I read your article. I'm the me mad baby.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great analogy, though, of how he went with it.
Yep.
Well, I definitely think that Trump shouldn't be snorting Ritalin before a debate.
He should, or at least he should be tested for that.
Yeah.
He should be tested for that.
And as we were going through and we were talking about like how there was a little bit of Biden interrupting a little bit, I can say that happens in every debate. Even Chris Wallace, I think, addressed that. It does happen.
Yeah.
But Trump would interrupt during Biden's thing, and you will see Biden would be talking. It's my turn to speak. Okay, it's my turn to speak. I'm Biden. It's my turn to speak. I'm speaking. Wait. Now Trump is interrupting. He pauses. Trump interrupts. Trump starts a sentence. Biden's like, wait, it's my turn to speak. And Biden starts speaking again. And suddenly Biden's the violator. Biden's the one who's offending. This is what you'll see. He's the one who's interrupting. But actually, it was his turn to speak. So that's what I saw a lot. And it didn't really seem to matter. And you watched whenever Biden briefly, ever so briefly, brought up Trump being indebted to Russia. And that sent Trump off. I mean, there was there was nothing you could do. You could not get out a sentence. As a matter of fact, anytime he started to mention truths about Trump, Trump would start interrupting. And I watched some of the after kind of debate, and you could see Trump visually get bothered whenever they were talking about
I like that.
things, So this is a lot of it. I mean, it was a toddler against a dog. Now, again, what did you expect from Joe Biden? Surely you didn't expect Barack Obama to come out and be on this. I mean, he is an older gentleman. He came out and he did his part. He did what he's supposed to. He did get frustrated a couple times. There was a couple times whenever he's like, Donald Trump has done this and this. And I'm like, wait, you need to mention that he did this and this and this too. And the reason why he did that was to do this. And he didn't do those things. I saw a lot of missed opportunities. But I tell you, whenever he did start hitting on points, and Trump starts trashing on Biden's children, while his daughter, who's under investigation now, or should be at the very least, we've got tax things that she should be in jail for tax evasion. His whole family is absolutely corrupt, and he's going to bash on somebody else's kid. And exemplary of his entire campaign.
Well, I do think that Biden kind of fit perfectly into a lot of the criticisms that progressives had of him when he got the nomination. We wanted somebody that was going to be able to fight with Donald Trump, and they chose somebody that we said wouldn't do that. I think we did see that. I think he got some shots off, and he fought a little more than I thought he was going to fight. But you brought up a really good moment where Trump is attacking his children, or Biden's children, and Biden refuses to do it back and refuses to go back at Trump's kids. Says he could do it, but doesn't do it. Yeah, and that's that weakness that I spoke of from the very beginning. Yeah, I was like, we need somebody. If you're gonna go at Biden's kids, Biden needs to go at the nepotism of Trump, but he just won't do it. It's that they go high, or they go low, we go high moment, and I don't like that. Yeah, play by the rules they give you.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for Chris Wallace, Biden would have gotten mauled.
Yeah, me too.
I think he would have gotten mauled.
Yeah. Chris Wallace did a great job.
Yep.
Yeah, he did. I think he did, considering the circumstances. I mean, and looking back, it's easy to look back now and go, but even at the time, I was thinking, I'm doing a lot of pretending today. Pretend I'm Chris Wallace. Sir. You obviously can't handle the rules of the debate. We're going to end it. Mr. Biden, you have won the debate. Mr. Trump, thank you for your participation. And he should have done that. He should have just ended the debate and then sent Trump off in shame. Sir, you are shamed. Leave this stage. That's what should have happened from Chris
Wallace would have to become a Democrat at that moment, though, because the Republicans would just kick him straight out.
I really thought, whenever he said he made the comment to Trump sitting there melting down. Trump is melting down. And Chris Wallace says, expected decor or expected grace or something. I mean, he literally insulted Trump to his face.
Chris might be becoming a Democrat this morning, regardless.
I said that right. So he may as well. He should have just shamed him off the stage. Sir, you need to leave now. Just go.
To tell you the truth, this whole the horrible showing of Trump during this debate gives the Democrats a reason why to cancel the next one, which is a town hall meeting. And if this is how Trump works in a scheduled and well-structured setting, just imagine how he's going to be during a town hall debate in Florida. If I was Biden, I would cancel the next one.
See, but I would not, and I would be railing against them for weakness if they do. You need to prepare for Trump. You should have been prepared for Trump to do this from the very beginning. We need a candidate that can fight back against it. We need somebody that's going to slap back, and this has been the criticism of Biden from the very beginning.
Biden's not that guy. Biden is not the guy who is going to do the hitch slap.
But if you cancel the debates, you're walking right into their narrative.
Hear me out on this. What I would do is that I would cancel the second one, tell Donald Trump that he's in timeout in the corner, and for him to think about what he's done wrong. And then we'll do the third debate. We'll do the third debate as it's scheduled, or even push it up to like November 1st. So you put even more pressure on Trump. But I don't think Biden's going to do that. I don't think his people are going to do that because they're not creative thinkers.
At the end of the debate, they literally said this could very well be the last debate.
I just want to point out real quick that, one of the things that this debate did was it exposed a lot about Donald Trump. I mean, if you actually watch the whole debate, you still think Biden was the interrupter, Biden was the one who was doing the thing, you're obviously intentionally blinding yourself. If you got it from Fox that's what happened, totally kind of more understandable. But if you watched it and you still don't think Trump was the aggressor, you're just kind of blind. And the whole thing with the Nazis or the white supremacists, where he literally refused. I mean, he's like, you want me to call him what? He started to freak out and panic. And then he started to attack the moderator, and he's like, give me a word to call him. And you could see it whenever it lit up in his mind. Go watch that again. You can see whenever he realized again, attack Wallace. And he's like, wait. Yeah, what do you want me to call him? What do you want me to do? And they said the Proud Boys. And he literally said, what'd he say? Stand back.
Stand by.
They've made it their logo.
Very well played.
He refused. He refused to actually say anything about them. He's like, "You guys stand back, stand by. You know what? We really got to do something about this Antifa and the left."
Yeah. Well, that was a classic example.
He went on an Antifa and the left tirade.
That was a classic example of whataboutism. It was a strategy developed by, really perfected under the Soviets, so that whenever we criticize the Soviets for something they did wrong, they always went, well, what about what you're doing in your country?
Right.
What about what you're doing in Central America? So that's what Trump does. He does that classic strategy.
Yeah, yep. that was a Trump really dodged a bullet there when he didn't commit to that. I think he did very well with that. There's a relationship I see between this whole thing and religion. It seems to me that Trump is playing the kind of Christianity card where the entire narrative is bullshit. When you see a debate between an atheist and a Christian, it seems to me that the atheist always wins because they're dealing from facts and a logical perspective. It seems that that's Biden in the debate, where he's really trying to address the issues that are happening with the country and laying out a real plan, something that Trump never did. And Trump is pouring out this ridiculous narrative that's all fantastical and clearly false from the perspective of outsiders. I see I see an analogy with religion there. And I
real
think that
quick-
Biden won the debate because
Oh, yeah.
he stuck with facts and reality. You know, I think in the eyes of Trump's supporters, he probably won the debate decisively. But it seems to me just factually that Biden was the only one interested in reality.
Well, the good
and
thing
the
about
debate.
Biden, and this is what I liked about his performance, he looked at the camera,
Mm-hmm.
he addressed people directly, and when he did it, he wasn't yelling or shouting. He was using a calm tone of voice. I thought that was fantastic. That was one of the things he needed to do, and he did it very well.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking to the white supremacist point, though, I think that that was his deer caught in the headlights moment, and
Yeah.
you did a pretty good job of talking about it, Chris. But I think that this is gonna essentially play out. I mean, this is what the election has been about. The right has tried to make it not about this ever since Charlottesville, but ever since Charlottesville, and when Trump made those first initial remarks when it comes to white supremacy, that started the division within his administration. Now he's got a bunch of lackeys around him now, but he also has some hangovers from that time period in his administration. And I'm just interested to see what divisions we'll see as a result of this current blunder, because he really, I mean, he stoked the fires of his base and he refused to attack what his base is. And now we're going to see how, the fallout of it.
And
the reason why Trump won, in 2016 was because, of course, there was people who just didn't go to the polls, right? Yeah. Democrats didn't go to the polls.
That's the biggest problem we have. That's the only problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And so the thing is with Biden is that because he's not Hillary Clinton, is that more people are going to be willing to come out and vote ultimately.
Yeah. There's things like whenever real quick, Trina DeLuca says, what about whenever he said stand by to the racists? Stand by for what?
You know what?
And we know what. Whenever he loses the election and the people rise up or whatever happens, he wants his own private little racist army there. What'd you call them? Oh, man, it's a German word, Andy. It's hard. It's
hard.
Are
we talking about the essay? Are we talking about the...
We'll just call it
I have the word right here. They are otherwise known as brown shirts. And
brown
the
shirts.
Proper German term is, and I'm going to butcher this, Sturma Betonung. But they're the essay. Basically, the paramilitary force of the Nazis in the early days.
The brown shirts.
Yeah, the brown shirts.
Yes. And they would go around at, wasn't it rallies and elections and harass and beat up, voter intimidation.
Yeah, all that stuff.
This is Trump's modern day, and he encouraged this yesterday. He encouraged poll watchers yesterday.
Well, that's what I was going to say, and I honestly think that that's what he means by stand by. Is he wants people in the polls harassing people. He wants violence, and I got on Twitter yesterday saying now when it's time for the Proud Boys to stop standing by, it's time for the left to stop as well. We need to be in those polls harassing the harassers. We cannot be afraid of COVID, and we can't let them. I mean, this is old politics. If people think that this is new, you really need to look at politics, because this is how it used to be done before we became more civil about it.
Yeah.
Trump is pushing us back into that dark era to where people are going to be in the streets with billy clubs, forcing people in to vote and vote their way several times. I mean, if you look at voting in this voting in this country, the history of it's not always as it has been recently.
Yeah. Well, this whole deal, we just gotta vote. And there's the deal about Trump. Now, see, Trump yesterday, there was two things I believe going on. Well, multiple things, right? But let's work on this right here. One is that he was trying to fire up his base, and he did that. He got out all those lies, the certain, even conspiracy theories that are just nutbaggery. He got out there, and his base is over there just drooling and masturbating over this nutbaggery that he's got going on.
Lots of circle jerks.
That was point one. So he wanted to stir his base, but I also believe that he intentionally wanted to push almost everybody else away. If you're an undecided voter, and the reason why I say this is because I now believe that what they're kind of thinking is that the more skewed the vote is, the worse they lose, the more likely it is that there was voter tampering, and that's what they're going to claim. Oh my goodness, we couldn't have lost by 4 million votes. Must have been tampering. So that's what I think. They're trying to pander to their base and alienate as many fucking people as they can. before
I think
the
it's
thing
just
for
the side
that
effect
purpose.
of alienating other people, what Trump is trying to do. And I think he knows that he cannot win this time, statistically speaking, that he had a long shot last time and he was able to thread that needle. But this time, really, he just doesn't have a chance. And so what he's trying to do is trying to energize his base, get people out in the streets and try to win it in a constitutional way. And you can cheat constitutionally, I believe. And that's what he can cheat constitutionally. And that's what he's going to try to do.
I've actually said that this, forgive me for keeping on with but that's the same thing Hitler did. Hitler took power legitimately through legal means and then used the power that he got to change the laws. And then finally at the end, they had the Reichstag that gave him the final power. And there's one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to have their own Reichstag where they're going to do something. We'll see it. We'll know it. We'll be like, oh, here it is. There it is. That's their Reichstag. Or they will so instigate the people that the people will literally march on Washington, and that will be their moment. He's going to force the people to literally rise up and do their own Reichstag. I have said.
Well, and I think unfortunately we're definitely going to see some violence at polling stations in the election, and he's going to use that. I mean, he's calling for his supporters to harass these polls for a reason. He wants
exactly
that
like
chaos.
Hitler.
Yeah, so he can point and say, "Look, unfair election. I am your king." I think that this is all planned, and I think this is going to be messy. And man, who knows how this is going to turn out? Like, we've never been here.
Do you think it could go as far as like shootings happening? Do you think it could be that serious?
Oh wait,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see that. I mean,
you literally saw
each other.
You literally saw in the right wing protest over the shutdowns. Now they weren't shooting people, but they were there with their assault weapons. They're right outside Governor Whitmer's mansion with their assault rifles. They're going to be at these polling stations with their assault rifles. Yeah, I think it's very, very possible.
That's not true. Mystic Wolf says Trump isn't Hitler. Trump was elected. Hitler wasn't elected. That's not actually true. Hitler was elected,
and then through a deft series of moves, he got extreme. He became the super chancellor for all intents and purposes.
He got it through legal power, just like Trump has been doing. First of all, now there is a difference. The difference is Hitler was not intellectually backed by Stalin. In this case, or the equal, who was it? I'm speaking, or in this case, Trump though was put in office is an illegitimate president because he was installed through manipulation and means by Russia.
Yeah.
So Trump is working with Russia to do this. So there's the difference between Nazism and what's going on. Trump is actually worse.
Well, and I would actually compare Putin more towards Hitler than I would towards Stalin. I mean, I don't think that you can say that.
No, understood. Totally,
Stalin,
completely. Yeah. No. I'm just comparing the people and the players in the place at the time is all I'm trying to compare.
The thing is about Stalin is that
that's worse, right? Go ahead.
Stalin is far worse because he was a successful dictator. Stalin had the mind and the heart of an accountant. And Hitler and Trump have the heart of an artist when you really think about it, right? In terms of how they're able to perform. And by far, who you should be afraid of is the person who has the heart and the brain of an accountant and just doesn't care and just is willing to do whatever they need to do and get power that way.
Yeah, Let me ask you guys this. What influence do you think this first debate, will have on the election?
I think it put us into more dangerous waters. I think the election will be more dangerous because of the debate.
It solidifies Biden's position, if anything. Biden didn't lose, like we were talking about before.
That's a good point.
And so this means that Biden is in a stronger position, and this makes Trump more desperate.
Well, yeah, and it was like 2 hours, right? Biden was there.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah.
Didn't show any signs of the stuttering Joe. I mean, maybe a couple times, but all Joe Biden really had to do was show up and be coherent. And I think he didn't just do that, but he did it well for a really long time. Yeah. So the whole narrative about him being senile, I think he did a lot against that yesterday.
Yeah, that's a really important point for me, is that Biden was able to converse properly for an extended period of time. We weren't looking at video clips of him mashed together where he made mistakes over a lengthy period of time. So I think that it really speaks to his cognitive strength, the fact that he was able to debate with Trump in a proper and sophisticated manner.
And what's important is that Biden didn't come off as a pussy, to be quite blunt about it. Trump, Biden tells Trump to shut up. He calls him a clown. He calls him a liar.
A couple times.
Right.
This is something that, and he didn't yell and scream and was unhinged while he did it. And I thought, that definitely pushes against the idea that Biden doesn't have a backbone.
And my fellow lefties out there talking smack about that. I mean, come on, guys. Seriously, if you cannot call Donald Trump a clown when he's attacking your family and not staying on point, telling nothing but lies, just the things he said about COVID. I mean, that was some clown. I mean, it's accurate, and I actually respect Biden for saying it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Biden and Trump is a clown, so
well, he puts on the makeup anyway. Biden comes out and says there are currently over 100 million people out there with pre-existing conditions. That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. And Trump is like, right. Trump called that a lie and said, where do you get those numbers? Do you have any idea what a pre-existing condition is? And do you know how the insurance companies inflate what that is and use that against you to not pay your, I mean, that was horrible back when they used to do it. I mean, and there really is 100 million people in our country with pre-existing conditions. I can't imagine there wouldn't be.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have a healthcare system taking care of health. We don't have a preventative healthcare system. We have a treatment healthcare system.
Well, this is not a sample of the population. I'm sure that at least half of us here on this 4-person panel have a pre-existing, a precondition, a health issue. I do.
I do. My daughter does. I mean, my daughter's got diabetes, so pre-existing health conditions go away. Can she keep her insurance? Can I get insurance? People don't realize that was the problem before. You had pre-existing conditions, you couldn't get insurance, so you flooded the ER, and that was on the taxpayers' dime because a lot of people just can't afford those ER visits.
Yeah.
We have some people like Miss Trina mentioned earlier. She was watching apparently the debate and blew tea out her nose or something blew out her drink whenever Trump mentioned the thing to the right wing people, the racist. Hey, wouldn't condemn them, and he did. I'm wondering. Certainly, because I have a lot of conservative friends that are not right-wing racist, and they too feel the same way. That too was probably another moment that went, damn, really, man, you couldn't have done anything but that. And I mean, that's the thing I'm saying whenever I say, why not let them debate again? I now kind of get Andy's point. If we get them in front of an unmitigated group of Trump supporters, they're just going to shout down everything. I mean, it's just going to be chaos.
And once again, they've done. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, they did a town hall questionnaire with Trump a few weeks ago where it was a town hall questionnaire where people from the audience asked questions, and those questions were mitigated. The people were mitigated. It was very subdued. They didn't ask the hard questions. They didn't ask, hey, why did you pay off this porn star? They didn't ask. They was all softball stuff. I don't see why they couldn't do that again and moderate and I'm not saying that I want to put Joe through that because I agree with Andy. Andy, hugs, we agree. It's that Trump gives us these little gold mines that expose what kind of fascist pig this bastard is.
Yeah.
Well, I do think that the white supremacist moment last night probably pushed a lot of undecideds towards Biden because you're exactly right. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're a white supremacist. So, only white supremacists are going to appreciate that part of that debate.
Right. See, in my mind, the way last night's debate should have been the conservative candidate, Joe Biden, up there debating against the progressive or liberal candidate, Bernie Sanders, with Bernie Sanders' right-hand person being AOC or somebody, you know what I mean? That's what it should have kind of been because Biden is such a man. He's my only choice and stuff, but he's really a conservative. I mean,
to the so-called moderate righties out there that like to say that they're moderates and yet they're going to be defending Trump. I saw it happening a lot yesterday. Biden is your moderate candidate, right? Biden is the moderate. Why are you supporting? Why are you defending the extreme and trashing the moderate? And you claim to be a moderate. Stop pretending and own who you are. Because I'm tired of being nice about it.
This is one of the things that Fox News does very well is that it skews what people think is moderate. You know, for those people who do suckle at the tit of Fox News, then they think Trump is moderate and they think Biden is a lefty.
And it just shows you how stupid those people are.
Well, you know, I mean, if you're an old card conservative, Biden is the answer for you, because he's more of that than he is what we as progressives, those of us here who are progressives, think of as, you know. But Trump is just so far right. They've pulled this thing so far right. It's
well, yeah, and Biden has went to the left. I'm not going to sit here and say he hasn't. He has been pushed to the left. But if anybody believes he will govern from the left and not the middle, for one, you don't understand history, because that's how elections work. You placate to your base and then you govern from the middle. Trump didn't do that, and that's why we're at where we are now. Biden's going to go straight to the middle the moment he's elected, and anybody that thinks otherwise is delusional.
And one of the things that because I absolutely agree with that, and one of the things I'm afraid of is that what's going to happen is Biden's going to go, you know what, now that I'm president, we need to heal the country rather than going through any kind of Nuremberg-esque trials to try and hang the bastard traitors who betrayed our country. Yeah. That's what he's going to do.
We've spoken
I don't want him to do that. But
we've spoken of it before.
Yeah, he did actually say that if he becomes president, he will seek justice. No man is above the law. Yeah,
he says that, but no president is going to set the precedent of holding accountable for decisions you make as president. I mean, that's why that's why Obama wouldn't prosecute Bush over war crimes. But I don't think it will happen.
Obama and Bush were both legitimate American presidents.
Yeah, I mean, technically, so is Trump.
Well, no, technically, I mean, he's not. If he was installed and knew and he had help from a foreign power and knew he was having help, there's no other way to say it outside of, it's almost to say, if Yuri Gagarin had come over, changed his name to Bob, and ran in and won the election, what's the difference? There is no difference.
We can all agree, I think, on the Major League Baseball rule, right? We know a bunch of guys were on steroids. Sure, that team might have won, you know, so you got all the home runs. You got all the home runs that season, but we know that your tongue wasn't the right shape for your skull and you're all hopped up on steroids. There's going to have to be some kind of signal, some kind of asterisk to show that, you won, but kind of not really.
Yeah.
Well, in that same scenario, though, in baseball, the issue is almost all of them are doing the steroids, so then the asterisks go away. The problem here is that governments have been helping political parties for a long time. Trump isn't the first. So I mean, if you're going to apply that asterisk for that, then you might as well give it to Obama and Bush and all the ones that came before him, because governments have been doing this. We do this in other countries. This is nothing new.
This is all about it. Yeah.
You guys may have forgotten, but George W. Bush actually stole the election from Al Gore.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Supreme Court stole it for him, but you're exactly right.
Yeah. Bush the younger was quote unquote illegitimate.
But the deal is, there wasn't, as far as we know in that instance, and that's kind of what I'm growing back to, is as far as we know in that instance, there wasn't foreign intervention.
Well, there always has been. I mean, for a long time during the Cold War, if you don't think that the Russians were pushing towards, this is just something that's been happening for a long time. And again, this is something that we do in other countries. I mean, this is well documented. We've been playing this same card. So while we're sitting here in outrage, oh, look at what the Russians and China did to our elections, let's go look at all the other elections around the world and see where our hands are at.
I think the difference that you and I don't seem to have is that I see Trump as literally the hand of Putin, And every time I mention that, you're going, oh, well, they were just as bad because of this. But you're ignoring the fact that I'm saying Trump is the hand of Putin. Are you saying, no, wait, Andy, are you, Nokasuchi, saying that George Bush was a corrupted agent by a foreign power?
Sure.
Then stop. Are you really?
Sure, yeah. I mean, they had big oil
based
money.
On what?
Big oil money. They had their hands in so much shit. I mean,
that's a bunch of shit, dude.
Okay, well,
I mean, you're like making
honestly,
that up
what
right
evidence,
here to
what evidence
bolster
do
your
you
argument.
have that Donald Trump,
an entire Mueller investigation? Dude, an entire Mueller investigation. He owes $400,000 to the Deutsche Bank, which is run by Russia.
I talk about that all the time. But what evidence do you have that he is operating for Putin? I mean, that's a claim. You got to have evidence.
We just talked about that. $500 million worth of evidence. We've got the Mueller investigation that was quashed by Trump, but you just agreed with.
Yeah,
that was Trump. That was Russia investigation. Okay. Moving on.
I will say that I think we can all agree that while in the past nation states affected each other's elections, this is a newer game because we're talking about individuals, oligarchs that don't represent their country's interests affecting, elections. So as against to the Soviet Union affecting, nobody thought Nikita Khrushchev had a personal beef or had personal something to gain if he was going to affect the U.S. elections. But Putin, on the other hand, it's very personal because of all the things that the United States government has done to Putin. And so there is something really personal about this. And since, he does treat Russia as his personal fiefdom, Donald Trump treats the United States of America as his personal fiefdom. So it isn't as much about nation states as against to dictators and individuals and oligarchs.
Well, I agree with Nokasuchi. I got to say it. He's not wrong in that there was a Cold War and they spent a lot of effort and time fighting us, and we just stopped fighting the Cold War. We stopped. We forgot about it. We had this digital, and they kept at us. Did they not?
Yeah.
The Russians.
It is typical for the victor in these kind of conflicts and like Cold War conflicts to just think that they're winners and just kind of like say shrug, walk away, and act in a way of hubris.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we were actively participating in the Cold War. We were trying to turn it into a hot war several times. You look at what happened in Afghanistan in that Russian-Afghan war. We were trying to kill Russians all over the world. My point is this: like, Trump won the election based on the Electoral College because that was easily manipulated, whether it was by a foreign government or not. The problem isn't the foreign government; it's the system that's easily manipulated. That is my point.
That's a good point. It's too easily manipulated. And you know what? He's made it even worse and removed the checks and balances since then.
Mm-hmm. Interesting note.
Degraded the foundations and institutions to make it easier this time.
Interesting note about the Electoral College is that it came very close to being dissolved during the Nixon administration. However, a Senate filibuster stopped that.
Yeah, Electoral College.
Well, I definitely think we need to set a precedent to hold our presidents accountable. No president should be above the law. Unfortunately, right now they are, and we need to come together as a country and stop that shit. We need new regulations. We need new guidelines, and we need a Justice Department that's going to be willing to prosecute a president instead of having these guidelines saying a sitting president can't be indicted.
That's true.
If you break the law, you should be indicted that moment.
Drug out of the office. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that I think is bad, did you hear the comments last night, guys, about where Trump was going? When Obama left office, they had like 100 and some odd judge positions open that they hadn't filled, and we filled them up. We filled over 300 things. You know why? Trump, do you know why? It was because Mitch McConnell's blocking everything. Mitch McConnell he blocked everything they did. You completely ignore that like the lying sack of shit you are, and ignore the fact. So now they have stacked. There's supposed to be 3 separate groups to our government as to perform checks and balances. But listen, if one branch of that government is allowed to completely fill in all the people in this other branch of the government, it's no longer balanced.
Those other two branches are just junior partners to the presidency. If that isn't clear to every American, I don't know how we can make it more clear.
If they can sit there and stack all those judges like that.
And always before, you know, with Nixon, we had Republicans that respected their role. You know, that's the whole point is you've got to understand your power and you've got to be willing to use it. And right now, the Senate Republicans aren't willing to do. They were willing to do it against Obama, but they're not willing to do it against Trump, who has much harsher policies than Obama did.
Absolutely. I find it one of the things that these people, and I got to question myself. I do sometimes, because other people have said things about it. I don't remember. I think it was one of you guys even who said, no, maybe it was Daniel Reynoso, who said that Trump is not a Russian puppet as much as he is just greedy. And it's just all about,
I think that is true.
Greed. Maybe it was John. And that's entirely possible, you know, and I have to stop sometimes and go, but you know what? They can both be true.
It isn't.
It can both be true.
Situation.
Yeah.
Because once again, oligarchs hate democracy. Oligarchs hate the rule of law. Oligarchs will band together to fight those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, he's had opportunities to declare himself or do things that would have made him innocent in various things. Release your taxes, dude. He said they're not done yet. Wait, they're not done yet? How long? My goodness, how long have they? How long does it take? You know, they're not done yet. That's a lie. If you believe that, you're just a moron.
Well, actually, I've looked into that. The audit is going on, and it has been going on for a long time. And it's actually unfortunate that he became president when he did, because if he hadn't, I'm fully confident that the IRS was about to take everything that this man owns. He had been dodging taxes for a very long time. So yeah, I actually, to where I used to be with you, Chris, like he's just taught, there's no way. But like when you look into it, this audit, like they were going after him, and he really, I mean, this is why he's adamant about winning this election no matter what, because he knows he's going to prison for something. And it doesn't even have to be, it doesn't have to do with anything as president, but his finances before, I mean, he's gone.
I saw something that said he paid $750 in taxes for some year in the recent past. Where did that information come from? I'm not seeing something here. If the investigation's not complete, where do those numbers come from?
From what I'm hearing, they're sources. So sources have revealed information. So yeah, we don't. The information is really, honestly, wishy-washy. But I think that his reaction to the information has proven it correct.
Very telling.
The New York Times first broke the story. They've been working on it for years, and so yeah. That's where the information comes from. That's who discovered the information. They've been digging constantly for the last couple of years.
So I saw a meme that said, well, if this is wrong, why doesn't Trump just release his last page of his tax return?
Yeah,
just the last page.
It'd be over.
You know what?
But you
know what? I've got a printer in there, guys, and I can go in there with my and I could print up the last page of my tax return, and I could put anything on there, and I could give that to. What stops him from doing that? Here's something that some people, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe some people don't know this, is that the reason why we trust that when he releases them, we actually get them is because he doesn't have them. We don't get them from him. We get them from the state or somewhere else. Some other organization or entity that is outside of Trump actually has them, is my understanding. Trump doesn't have control. Now, can Trump corrupt if it's a government organization? Can Trump corrupt that organization, remove the head of that organization like he's known to do, replace it with a Trump supporter, and then go fiddling with the stuff? Is that possible?
I just want to go back to how we know about the Trump's taxes.
Thank you. Yeah.
And basically 2 decades of Trump's taxes got leaked to the New York Times. And right now, Republicans are demanding to know, of course, who the leaker is. So there isn't even a question of whether or not these are "quote unquote" real documents. No. The Republicans, in classic fashion, just want to punish the person who was the whistleblower
and muddy the waters. Yeah, the whole tax thing. This has kind of driven me away from the Russian narrative, and I'm right there with you, Chris, when it comes to the Russian narrative. I think he's doing shit for Putin directly, but I think he's mainly looking out for himself, and I think people are allowing him to do so because they're trying to protect American oligarchy, and American oligarchy is worldwide oligarchy. all of these oligarchs are connected all over the world, and they're trying to protect each other. And so I think that Republicans, who have always been, the party of freedom and wanting to fully vet all, you always heard that with Obama, you got to vet them. They're willing not to vet President Trump because they themselves are trying to protect the oligarchy that feeds and lines their pockets with lobbyist money.
Right.
I think they should all get credit checks. Checks and blood tests. That's what they should be getting.
Part of why I'm doing my little stop, drop, and roll about the whole Russia thing. Not that and I even said one day on the show, I was like, should I stop thinking about that? Andy's like, no. But now I'm starting
because
to
you're right.
See,
I mean, it's obvious it's there.
Yeah. I'm trying to expand my mind and see and understand the bigger picture. How much money would you sell out your nation for? But is it that? Is it that, or is it just trying to, like you say, prop up this oligarchy that,
I think he's trying to set up his children,
his own fascist,
the legacy moving forward, and the ability to be a legal criminal for his children. Like he's been able to get away with it, and he wants to make it legal now.
Yeah.
What was in the headline about him laundering money? And I don't mean to bring up something that's off topic, but.
Well, he's been laundering Russian oligarch money for decades. We've known this. Like we were screaming at the top of our lungs in 2016. Like, remember the Russian money? Like, just don't you remember?
Remember the Florida mansion that the Russians bought from him for millions of dollars more than its actual value? Did anybody remember that? That happened before the election.
The oligarchs in his hotels all across the world. The Russian hotel is a huge issue. Was a huge issue right until he became president of the United States.
You know who I feel sorry for? Melania Trump. She thought she was gonna get a billionaire.
Those have been the best memes. The Melania ones
have been the best.
Those have been good.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that even when Biden had the opportunity to go there, he really didn't. He did one time mention the 750, but he didn't go into the things about like the corruption in the family, and he didn't.
And that's what I'm saying. That's my disappointment in Biden. Is like. That's that criticism we had. Like, we need a fighter. And man, he did.
At this point in the show, if we're going to call this whole campaign a show, we just need Biden to be able to play defense, punch.
Yes.
Like not. He doesn't have to go in deep. He doesn't need to make big haymaker punches, but he needs to counter jab. Get in there and just basically.
And he can do it without stooping to Trump's level. And I think that he did well with that last night.
I think he did well with it last night too.
In retrospect, looking back in hindsight, I think you give people a week to look at this debate and think about it. I wanted Biden to be a little more fighter, strappy, but like Trump was so childish and so immature through the whole thing. And then Biden does sit there, and in contrast, there's an adult and there's a child. And I think that that's going to play really well for Joe Biden.
Yeah. And once again, Biden was tough. Biden was tough. He said the things he needed to say. He just didn't take it. He just didn't take his lumps. He called Trump a liar, called him a fool. He did all the right. Clown. He did those things correctly.
Yeah, called him a
So
clown.
What do you guys think about this? Let's put the Trump supporters aside. Let's put the people that are voting for Biden, us aside. The average American that's undecided, how did they see that debate going last night?
Most people wanted to stop. Most people just wanted to stop. They're bleeding from the eyes. They want to go back to their lives. And so in that way, Joe Biden looks like a very grandfatherly, avuncular figure. And it's like, I'll vote for him as against to the big baby. I think that's how it cuts for a lot of people.
I think right now we're seeing people like just fed up and tired of it. A lot of people, a lot of independents are saying neither side won. I think it's going to take some reflection on this one because it was just such a train wreck that people are still processing it. But I think once they process it, I mean, it's clear you had a child and you had an adult, and Joe Biden was that adult in the room. And right now during a pandemic, when family members are dying, you want an adult in the room.
Yeah. Real quick, they mentioned something. Somebody said this after the show. We watched some after show. Now, during the show, my wife sit over there watching a lot of it through her hands. Very anxiety, just totally anxiety. And
I was
they
face
mentioned
bombing.
after-
I'm like,
yeah. But there was a part of it where they mentioned after the thing, after the show, that it was like an abuse. There was it was an abusive adult. And now the analogy is kind of like this. You're a little kid sitting on a couch. We, the United States, are the little kids sitting on the couch. And you've got two parents arguing. And one of them is that classic abusive parent slamming things, slapping the other parent around, being abusive. And the other parent is trying to be good. Let's not do this in front of the kids. Let's stand up, be noble. That's what we saw last night. And that's the same reaction you would have. And that's what they described afterwards. My wife, whenever they were talking about it, she's like, yeah, that's it. I mean, my analogy just now, that's my analogy about the abusive spouse. That's my analogy. But that's what they said last night. And it really rang with her. Because didn't you see what happened? I mean, I can imagine so many people who just turn it off. Just I don't want to watch this. This is hard. I'm turning this off. I can see that.
You know, some people. I think the American people like a train wreck.
I would think. Yeah, I would think this could very well be the highest rated debate. I'm interested to see the numbers. Because people love a dumpster fire. When people come to my channel, they don't like the nice little conversations, the friendly chats with Christians. They want to see me cussing. You know.
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. You know, it did. It was exactly what we expected. Andy posted an article about it.
Which one was it? The
Chris
the
10
Wallace
lies, 10 lies.
Oh, the 20 lies
articles.
It's a satirical comedy
Right.
piece about the 10 lies, the 20 lies that Donald Trump is going to tell during the debate. Some of them were spot on, I think. At least in
you
spirit.
know,
I think we got about 550 of them in the first 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But we were sitting here making bets on how Trump was going to embarrass us as a nation, as our president, and we were all right.
Wow.
You know, I mean,
I
was telling they were prepping Biden this is my understanding, with not just normal debate techniques and tactics, but with specifically that the noise, the being abusive, this kind of thing. They practice that because why would you practice that in a presidential debate if they were presidential candidates?
You know, what I'm impressed about, and I want to go back and touch on what you just said, is that Trump has an amazing constitution. He was able to be big bad baby for like a solid hour and a half.
Yeah.
And he was just able to basically flood the whole area with Donald J. Trump. Well, you could see Biden kind of gassing out in the middle of the debate and then kind of pulling it back together again towards the end. But my God, my fictitious God, Donald Trump, he's got a lot of gas in that tank.
Well, yeah, and he's not afraid to go as low as you possibly can. Before we're almost done with the hour, so before we end that hour, we cannot forget the moment where Joe Biden is talking about his dead son, a former military. Republicans supposed to love the military, so Joe Biden's talking about this son, and Trump goes at Hunter Biden's cocaine abuse. And I thought Joe owned that moment great. I thought it was probably one of the best moments.
You know, I would have hit harder. I would have counterpunched.
Well, so would I.
You hated John McCain too.
Well, I would have punched back and said, "Let's talk about your own cocaine abuse." That's what I would have done.
Or your own abuse.
He didn't completely fail at that moment. He just didn't do it.
I thought it was one of his best moments because he talked about drug abuse and he was able to relate with a lot of Americans in that moment. So I think that it backfired against Trump. But that moment where Trump did that, where he went low against somebody's child like that, I'm thinking a lot of families in America aren't, as much as they hate Joe Biden and that narrative about Hunter, they're not going to appreciate Trump doing that.
Yeah,
I hope. I hope America's better than that. You know.
And Trump exposed his ignorance. He wasn't even talking about the right son.
He
didn't even know what he was talking about. You know, he was just looking for the opportunity to say something ugly about Biden's son.
Oh yeah, and you know, when it comes to Hunter, I think most people agree. Yeah, I mean, of course, he's Joe Biden's son. He got that position. But if you want to talk about nepotism, it's not a conversation about Joe Biden. It's a conversation about all of them.
No, nepotism. I mean, look at Trump. His administration embodies nepotism. I mean, that's
he runs the government in a gangster family kind of Sopranos way.
Yeah, I mean, well, it just happens.
That's
I
true.
mean, what has Chelsea Clinton done besides be Chelsea Clinton? I mean, it's just if you're the child of great people, that's life and that's reality. I mean, we as progressives are trying to break that oligarchy, but you know, if you're going to talk about that, if you're going to talk about Joe Biden, hey, I agree with you that it's wrong, but let's talk about all of them. All of them, Trump's kids, Pelosi's kids, McConnell's kids, all of them, because they all do it.
Yep.
Wow.
Vice presidential debate coming up on October 7th.
I'm gonna watch that. I just want to mention that Ritalin lasts for approximately 3 hours, and extended release Ritalin lasts for approximately 8 hours.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. So for those of you who are interested in Trump, and you see him like last night. Yeah, man, he was a bull. He did, and I would sit here, we'd be watching, and it's Biden's turn to talk. Trump would interrupt him, and I'm like, Biden, just let him talk, dude. Let him dig his own grave. And he would just start rattling and rambling and going on and spewing this nonsense. But he did have that stamina that you guys mentioned. Yep. And I think it has to do with the snorting the Adderall or the Ritalin or something like that. I speculative, of course, because he's the bad guy, and this is all. I'm just, but you know what I mean. Odd. And why is it that sometimes he does drool on himself? You know, I've seen interviews where he comes out there and he's just babbles like an idiot.
Lack of IQ.
I mean, go back and watch the second debate with Hillary Clinton. It was a disaster of just him not knowing what he was saying, sniffing, snorting. It was bad. It was bad.
You know, the debating technique where you try to just dominate someone and tell lies and be aggressive seemed to get Trump through the debates with Hillary, and he ended up winning. But what I'm hearing, I think, is that you guys think that things have gone so far, that we're in such a bad position now that just isn't going to work for Trump anymore.
I think because of COVID-19, people are sick and tired of Donald Trump. And that means that Biden is ahead in the polls, and that means Trump has to do crazy stuff, and people just aren't having it. It just doesn't give you as much traction. The battlefield has changed due to COVID-19, and Trump is not able to adapt to that change in the battlefield. Really, it's as simple as that.
I think in 2016, it was new. It was novel. Nobody had ever really done it. We had gotten used to a certain civil discourse when it comes to politics. Trump came in and kind of smacked everybody in the face. Oh, that's really strong. We like him. That novelty has worn off. Yeah, he's going to have his base, but that's not going to suck in new voters like it did the last time. People I think are actually, that's the one thing consistently they all say is they don't like that about him.
Well, what Andy said earlier about Trump and Biden, he can't step away from another debate. He can't refuse, even if it's wrong. And we agree, you really shouldn't do that because of X, Y, and Z. He can't, because to do so would appear to be weak.
It would be completely the right thing to do. I've been spot on with everything. I have to tell you, they should have elected Oprah. They should have elected they should have tried to get The Rock as a candidate.
I'm for The Rock.
They
hell yeah,
it's all this stuff, man. They should skip the next debate, do the third debate. You put the screws to Trump, because Biden is in a winning position, and nothing is going to change that right now unless.
Let me ask you this, Andy:
running away could change it.
If Biden were to reject the next debate, because like they said that there's that possibility, the news reported, would that not seem like a fighter not showing up for a fight?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I disagree.
You would frame it. It all matters how you frame it. You just say that he's a toddler, put him in timeout, and then we'll come back on the third debate and we'll see, and we'll play what's what.
I disagree. I think you walk right into that Trump narrative, and they're just going to say weakness, and I think it looks weak, and the American people will see it as weak.
Yeah. Well, what happens if the presidential debate committee decides to impose some kind of rules or limits on Trump, and Trump pulls back? Yeah, I'm with Andy. I don't think it'll happen, but man, that was very unprecedented.
I don't think that we're going to have another debate. I don't think. I think that was the one we get.
I gotta be honest with you. I think you're right, but I have to admit when I say I thought we weren't going to have last night's debate. I thought Trump was somehow going to back out. So I was wrong.
So did I. I was totally wrong. Like right up until it started, I'm like, it's not going to happen.
Me too. And then it was a few minutes late, and I'm like, what's happening? Did he spill his Ritalin or what? Could he? Did he not find a razor blade to chop it up behind the screen? But whenever it was a few minutes late starting. How did you guys who watched it? Did you watch it on what channel did you watch it on?
I watched
CNN.
the live stream. Yeah,
On CNN?
Yeah,
the
because I'm
CNN.
old. That's what I do. I watch that.
Well, I watched it on MSNBC. It was actually a Fox News broadcast. That's why I'm asking where y'all watched it, because so I watched it beforehand, and Mike Wallace came out to give instructions, and Rachel's sitting there, and she's like, "Okay, here he comes. He's going to give instructions to the crowd." But Fox didn't turn on his microphone to anybody besides. I mean, they could hear him in the audience, but not us. You know, it was a really funny moment about Rachel, and anyway, that's where I saw it. I thought it was kind of funny. Guys, we've done the hour. Thank you all for joining me and going nuts into this craziness. And man, this is not the first time I've said, maybe I need to look into the bigger picture. There's a bigger picture there. Nokasuchi says there's a bigger picture. I'm looking.
Well, you're not wrong about Russia.
I'm a believer. Right,
you're not wrong about Russia. I think that's pretty evident. But yeah, I think that it's about oligarchy as well. I think it's chaos, Russia, oligarchy, demoralizing the institutions of America. I think that's pretty evident.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. Now we've got a lot at stake, and as we get closer to the election, things are going to get crazier. You know, I mean, there's no avoiding it. He's getting in a corner.
Skeptically speaking, I would say that these debates, especially this first one, because that's the only one we can talk about, isn't going to change the needle that much. There's going to be a lot of smoke. There's not going to be a lot of fire.
Real quick, I know we've done the hour. I want to mention something, guys. There started some talk. Trump started talking about how the Pelosi and Hillary Clinton. He started mentioning Hillary Clinton. There's now new evidence about Hillary Clinton that just came out yesterday, and he started talking about Hillary and Nancy and Biden and those people in a very. I have been predicting that at some point he's going to get so desperate for the elections that he's going to try to arrest these people. Arrest the counter somewhere along the way. And the language he used last night was very much like, you know what, at any moment we could just kick in their doors and just arrest them for that's how he spoke.
There's almost pressure for him to do so. Again, like if you're listening to Hannity and Limbaugh, they've been building these cases against the Strokes, against the deep state for 3.5 years now. And if Trump doesn't act, then it just shows that they were making shit up.
And I just want to point out once again, in most of the swing states, even in Florida right now, in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Biden is soundly beating Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
you drive around Michigan right now, you don't see many Trump signs. Biden signs are everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's 2016 was the opposite. Yeah. It was Trump signs and not Hillary signs.
Yeah. There's like 8. There are polls in Michigan. 8 Biden up by 8%, Biden up by 6%, and well-respected goals too.
Here's a point brought by the chat. Cindy Plaza says that there's too much money to be made on the debates, and they won't cancel any of them. I wonder how likely that is too.
Yeah,
it sounds like
Yeah, that's the point.
We'll see. I don't. Despite the money, I still don't think we'll see another one.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I have to say It's gold mine. Trump is a gold mine of why you should not vote for him. Just let him rattle. Let him talk. And this racist stuff yesterday was gold.
Let Trump beat himself. I think that's the best strategy.
I would say that our guy needs to continue playing heavy defense, and once again. The reason why Biden quote unquote won is because of Chris Wallace last night. We cannot expect the moderator to moderate in such a fashion in the next 2 presidential debates.
And if you're the DNC, you got to capitalize on this white supremacist moment. You've got to capitalize. You've got to push it on every market. Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead.
That should be the number one focus from last night.
It should. Absolutely. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nokasuchi. You guys are all wonderful. Such a fun group. I learned stuff. Usually anytime I wave my arms and I start saying ignorant stuff, I'm usually wrong, and it doesn't take me long to figure that out. Anyway, thank you guys for the fun day. It was good stuff, and I enjoyed it. Thank you to everybody in the damn nation. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you everybody on Facebook, and thank you wonderful people who listen on the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast. That thing is starting to kind of blow up over there. I very much appreciate you. You're all wonderful. All right, guys, I am off to save the world. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We will see you tomorrow. Take care.
Be strong.
Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, Ian Davenport, Cindy Plaza, and tons of mice. Thank you, and have a great day.